We are all brainwashed by the person in the mirror. Written by Thomas Zelte, edited in VideoScribe. From my path of brainwashing and manipulation within the creative industry, I've pointed out the birth of advertising, the wide range of manipulation tactics used, and the influence on consumers into purchasing a product or a service. I've interviewed a creative professional and extended my scope from simple manipulation in the creative industry to brainwashing within the industry, brainwashing of consumers, and various products. In my last video of this series, I've reached the final frontier. From exploring creatives and the industry, I forgot the most important piece of the puzzle, where if you removed it, nothing would exist. Advertising would be obsolete. It would be useless. That piece of the puzzle, it's us. Our worst enemy is the one that looks back in the mirror, the one that smiles back to us, but most importantly, the one that controls everything about us, our minds. We brainwash ourselves, and I know it sounds crazy, but let's begin this rabbit hole. There are a few important things to keep in mind. First of all, it's a series of techniques. It's not usually one single technique used, but rather a multitude of things are going on at the same time. Secondly, brainwashing is a process. It doesn't always happen instantly. It takes time. However, the time taken will depend on the number of brainwashing techniques used, the skill of the manipulator, and so on. But we are our own greatest manipulators. Well, why? Steve Hassan, who has treated ex-cult members for over 30 years, makes this interesting distinction. He suggests that mind control is different in that the manipulation is considered a friend or a helper of some sort. The person being manipulated becomes a willing participant. They're happy to go along with the advice and direction of the person who is supposedly helping them. This kind of situation is much more common in cults or in marriages where there is no gun to anyone's head and there may be no physical force or violence. For this very reason, cult members do not believe that they're being brainwashed or mind controlled. Cult members, however, believe that they're making their own decisions, and this is why it's very difficult to convince them otherwise. And who do we trust more than anyone else? Our own selves. What about Lil Pump Gucci Gang? I know, horrible, but why did I actually like it? That's the Stockholm effect. The scientific term for this phenomena is the mere exposure effect, discovered in the 60s by Robert Zayonk, and it can apply to anything: images, shapes, songs, or people. In his study, participants reported liking songs more the second and third times they were exposed to them. This same response occurred even when participants weren't aware of any previous exposure. It seemed that the people can easily mistake the fluidity of their ability to identify and fully comprehend a song with actually liking it. So once the song gets stuck in your head, it may quickly transition from being irritated to being loved. Now, remember all those times you pump yourself up before an important speech, asking someone out on a date, or even doing something that is risky. Usually, you will hear the person telling themselves over and over again that they can do it. This could be associated with the placebo effect, but even though the placebo effect is indeed for medical purposes, it can still, however, work even when participants know it's fake. In one such study designed to determine if the beneficial effect still exists when a patient knows they're receiving a placebo, nearly 60% of patients given a placebo pill and again told they were receiving a placebo reported adequate relief from their irritable bowel syndrome, compared to only 35% of those who received no treatment whatsoever. Now, what about when you watch a video on headlights, yet all of a sudden your head becomes itchy? Even though I gave you 3 examples how you brainwash yourself, let me explain the 3 most common used brainwashing techniques there is. See, number 1 is the same idea or phrase, which is frequently repeated to make sure it sticks in your brain. Number 2, intense intelligence dampening is performed by providing you with constant short snippets of information on various subjects. This trains you to have a short memory, makes the amount of information feel overwhelming, and the answers provided by the manipulator to be highly desired due to how overwhelming you feel. Number 3, emotional or physical abuse. In forms of manipulation is used to put you in a heightened state, as this makes it harder for you to employ logic. Inducing fear, anger, and sadness are amongst the most popular manipulated emotions. Now, I think we can agree why we brainwash ourselves. But why? Well, we brainwash ourselves for many different reasons, actually. We brainwash ourselves to avoid a number of different emotions, but the one emotion we most commonly brainwash ourselves is to avoid pain. It helps us avoid what we fear, avoid things that could be confrontational. But who controls what really? Do we control our mind, or does our mind control us? Is it actually our brain brainwashing ourselves, or our brainwashing our brains? Your experience of being human, from thoughts to actions to pathologies to sensations, can be studied in the individual brain with some benefit. With such study, we can come to understand how we see the world, why we argue with ourselves, and why we fall prey to cognitive illusions and their unconscious data streams of information that influence our opinions. You see, the brain does not control us. However, by our habitual actions, way of thinking, emotionalizing attitudes, motivations, etc., the brain is automizing its functioning. By other words, the brain is not doing what it wishes to do. We are those who have been framing our brain to act in a way typically for us. It could be why we yawn. Yawning is a subconscious and pathetic behavior. One interpretation of this is that your consciousness is the thing you think of as you, is just a passenger inside a deterministic automaton. Your unconscious brain and your body gets on with running your life and only report back to your conscious mind when necessary to preserve a sense of free will. But it's just valid to say that when you make a decision, there's always a certain amount of background processing going on, which the conscious mind ignores. For convenience, in the same way your eye projects the upside down image onto your retina, but your unconscious brain turns it the right way around. Our brains run us, not in the typical making us move, but through deep subconscious ways. Us humans have evolved through many generations that our brains already know what to do and when to do it. Us humans enjoy living a repetitive way of life and will brainwash ourselves. This links back to my previous videos ranging from manipulation in the industry to brainwashing consumers. It ultimately starts with us. It starts with us brainwashing our own selves, which starts a cycle. Us humans will never change. We'll never unbrainwash ourselves, and our brains will always continue to make us do things. Society itself is quickly changing for better or for worse, but our brains will continue to lead us, no matter how hard we try, no matter how many techniques and strategies we use to unbrainwash ourselves. Our minds are always going to be one step ahead, one powerful step ahead. No matter what I say, studies say, or even professionals say, we will always make up tomorrow and live the same way again. Before I end the video, I just wanted to say a quick thank you to our sponsors for this video, Brain Cleanse. It's a new campaign from Beyond the Blue focusing on fixing itself, brainwashing. It focuses on social media and physical issues. On their website, you can sign up for daily quotes, tricks, and to ultimately unbrainwash yourself. It will send you out daily events, games, and little things you can do to keep yourself busy instead of wanting to brainwash yourself again. It really helps with day-to-day life, making everything more fun. These are the same guys you see advertising on walls with stickers, cards, and even posters that get sent out. This was designed by myself in a response to brainwashing and to try help Beyond the Blue. So go check them out in the link in the description.